Good morning. I'd like to officially call our meeting to order and thank everyone for coming out this morning. And the first item on our agenda is the chair's report. And so I, Cheryl Walker, as chair, will begin. Again, I'd like to welcome everyone for being here. And because we are being recorded and broadcast live via the internet, I request that everyone be mindful to speak into the microphone so that those who are listening from afar can hear us. And then also to make sure that you turn your cell phones or pagers on vibrate or silent so that it would not interrupt this morning's meeting. It's always a thrill to be in Kansas City. It's a city that I love visiting, and this trip has been no different. It is also my distinct pleasure to formally introduce and recognize Leo Martin as our interim chancellor of the Kansas City campus, and I want to thank you for the hospitality you've shown us over the last couple of days, and thank you for my gift of this morning of the lovely collection of paintings, the coffee table book of paintings. And I would just want to say welcome. We look forward to the months ahead with you at the helm, and you've certainly off to a wonderful start, and certainly with your service as on the board of trustees for the Kansas City campus, and also most recently as chair of that board. We certainly thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
I'd also like to thank Dr. Ebersol for putting together such a wonderful program this morning. I shared with him that he managed to merge three of my interests. Art, I enjoy art galleries of all sizes and magnitudes. Certainly the sciences, as a graduate of the MS&T campus, is very near and dear to me. And then finally the music and dance. Not the dance as much, but on the music front is certainly something that is part of my family, my personal family legacy, and the interaction of two different performing art forms is something that I am blessed to have participated in. Dr. Barbara Harbach, Chancellor George's wife, invited me to write. She knows that I write poetry as a hobby, so she invited me to write the lyrics for a piece of chamber music that she was going to do, and I had the pleasure of doing that and then witnessing her transform it into a magnificent piece that it was beyond words. So I certainly appreciate the left brain and the right brain, and thank Kansas City for putting it all together. I also want to focus this morning particularly, as you know, I've selected economic development through research, life sciences, and technology as my theme for the year as board chair. And I've already highlighted some things that we're doing, the great things that we're doing across the system in the areas of research and technology during past meetings. So this one I'm going to spend the time focusing more so on life sciences across the campuses and including the description of some cutting-edge research that's taking place that has a positive impact not only on human welfare across the state and nation, but on our state's economy as well. So since we're here in Kansas City, I'd like to begin by highlighting some of the wonderful things that are going on here in that regard. Some of you who were on the tour yesterday probably heard part of the following, which is that this campus is one of fewer than 30 universities in the nation that have the schools of medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, and nursing all centrally located on one campus. And that allows for an enormous amount of synergy and collaborations to take place for groundbreaking research in the area of life sciences. One example I'd like to offer for you is Dr. Brian Giesbrecht. He was only at the age of 32 discovered how staph infection disables the human immune system. And I'm quoting him, and he states that for years we've always looked at the problem as being, what is your immune system not doing right when you get sick? But he adds that over time it becomes more clear that the real question is, what is the bacteria doing to keep your immune system from functioning? And it's that latter question that he's answering with his research. Similarly, Dr. Ashim Mitra, the Curators Professor of Pharmacy, the Chairman of Pharmaceutical Sciences, and Vice Provost of Interdisciplinary Research at the School of Pharmacy, have received over $5.5 million in grant money from the National Institutes of Health to continue work on three distinct studies, which can be described as falling within two main areas. One, the delivery and targeting of antiviral agents and development of non-invasive delivery systems for peptide and protein drugs. So, and with this, the Dean of Pharmacy, Dr. Robert Pifo, described Dr. Mitra as a pioneer in identifying new approaches to assure that drugs reach their intended site of action in the body. Dr. Pifo adds that his research has a primary factor in our division of pharmaceutical sciences being recognized nationally for the caliber of our graduate research programs. With that, I'm going to travel eastward down Highway 70 and stop in the Columbia campus and highlight some of the actions that are going on the Christopher S. Bond Life Sciences Center. There are 35 investigators and over 400 personnel that work there tirelessly to uncover groundbreaking discoveries and that I know already have and will continue to change the course of history. The Bond Center investigators have been very successful in securing external funding with the current total multi-year grant awards of $57.3 million, which is absolutely amazing considering that center opened since I've been on this board. So they've done a lot in a short period of time. And their external funding directly supports 418 jobs and indirectly another 576. For instance, the researchers there recently discovered how to generate engineered mini-chromosomes in maize and attach genes to those mini-chromosomes. This discovery opens new possibilities for the development of crops that are multiply resistant to viruses, insects, fungi, bacteria, and herbicides, and for the development of proteins and metabolites that can be used to treat human illnesses. Professor of Biological Sciences, Mr. James Birchler, projects that if we can do this in plants, many advances could be done in agriculture that would not otherwise be possible, from improved crops to inexpensive pharmaceutical production to other applications in biotechnology. This research alone has generated $1.9 million in funding from the National Science Foundation and could revolutionize biopharmacy. The campus is also developing the infrastructure needed to bring life science research ventures to market in its MU Life Sciences Business Incubator. When complete, it will have over 33,000 square feet of space available to support high-growth enterprises in mid-Missouri. Discussions are underway to bring PET Screen Limited, a UK-based animal cancer therapy company, to Columbia. If successful, that is expected to have an overwhelming impact in our region, as well as bringing jobs and other collaborations into mid-Missouri. As we continue, I then travel in St. Louis, where I reside, and highlight for you the work of Dr. Ji Ju. It is an example of a life sciences who's working hard to bring to market a new infrared optical device developed for pain-free, non-invasive measurement of blood glucose for screening and management of type 1 and type 2 diabetes. An initial pilot study is being conducted at UM in St. Louis, and funds are being raised at this point to try to do a more in-depth pilot in 2009. Research indicates that over 180 million people suffer directly from diabetes worldwide, and the expense for blood sugar monitoring alone is a $7.2 billion industry. So these advancements that are being made on the St. Louis campus are sure to have a positive economic impact worldwide by, for example, reducing the health care costs that are associated with people with diabetes from the early detection and screening, and lowering the expenses associated with blood sugar monitoring on a per capita basis. But St. Louis doesn't stop there. There's a lot of exciting things going on that campus, and the IT Enterprises Incubator is but one of them. It is an incubator designed to marry the iTech industry with the biotech industry and take advantage of the campus as a whole, and being available to have the professors there to provide the computation research that enables and the testing of the hypotheses that the entrepreneurs come up with. And so the incubator is housed in a 42,000 square foot office space and lab with a 3,000 square foot computing center. So one of the goals is to take these startup companies to utilize the faculty and to bring things to market in a much faster pace. To quote Chancellor George, he stated that an endeavor is an information technology niche for the St. Louis campus, where biotechnology and biochemistry have taken root in the St. Louis area. And he adds that if you look around the country where the successful biotech efforts are, there's always a complementary information technology center nearby. So I certainly appreciate what's going there, and I can tell you there's a lot of positive buzz going on about it in St. Louis. Finally, but certainly not the least among us, we arrive in Rolla, Missouri, where I had the pleasure of attending school, and it certainly plays a large role in bringing life science research to the market. The MoSci Corporation grew out of research conducted on the Rolla campus, and today produces, among other things, glass microspheres that can be aerated to treat cancer, restore dental materials, biodegradable implants, and bioactive glasses. MoSci employs approximately 40 people, has received 34 research and development grants with a total value of $5.8 million. The resulting benefits to Missouri's economy are substantial. Plans are underway at MS&T to develop a technology park and incubator that will help spur life sciences and other businesses like MoSci. So perhaps one day the commercialization of the work of such researchers as Dr. Ronald Frank in the identification of gene families using computer algorithms and the evolution of expression of gene families in plants can take place there and can be brought to market. So once developed, the technology park is projected to create more than 1,000 jobs annually and $3.6 million in average general revenues on an annual basis. Over 12 years, this would equate to over $43 million in revenue and $997 million of output in the state's economy. Now, you may have noticed today that I've not mentioned the University of Missouri Extension, but that was not an oversight. Rather, my plan is to devote my October chair remarks exclusively to Extension and the vital role that it plays throughout the state in the economic development in the state of Missouri and the role that university plays in each and every county of the state. So on behalf of the Board of Curators, I'd like to say thank you to all of our researchers for all that you do for the betterment of our students, for the betterment of our state, and certainly for the betterment of our state's economy. Because of you, we're unlocking the keys to the days of tomorrow, and we all are better for it. We're better citizens. We are better for our service in our respective communities for all that the university does. So please join me in a round of applause for our researchers and the countless efforts of others across the system and what they do for our state. And I would like to end by having the opportunity to ask the student representatives from across the state to stand so that you can be recognized. And I thank you for all that you do for the University of Missouri to keep this engine running. So the stories that I've shared today are but a few of the enormous stories that we have that go on a daily basis on each and every campus. And I hope that you will take the time to explore those unique stories on behalf of yourselves and your respective areas of interest, because I promise you that in each and every case you will find something amazing behind those doors. And so now I will turn it over to President Forsey.
Thank Chairperson Walker for that really outstanding report. I think as we've seen this evolve this year, we have a lot to talk about in terms of what we're doing in our research and economic development. We continue to find great stories to share with you at these meetings. I'd like to add my thanks to Gary Ebersol for hosting this morning, and certainly the faculty panels that we had gave us an indication on this campus and the important role in this community that UMKC plays. And Gary, I'd like to add thanks to you for your ongoing counsel and advice to me as I solicit that, and I appreciate that. And to Burton Dunbar, again, thank you for the coffee table book. We compared notes briefly about our time that we spent in Brussels, and overlapping time, I think, as we understand that. I would also add my thanks to the student groups, but also recognize, and I don't know if Ron Ritter is here this morning or not. Ron, I know, there he is, who will be the incoming chair of the alumni Association, and also to the Extension Council, which are such key supporters. And as Chairperson Walker said, we'll have a chance at the upcoming October meeting to highlight what Extension is. So please stand up and be recognized. I've got just a few items this morning that I want to share with you. I want to recap a bit the Health Science Center announcement that occurred in early August. I want to give you an update on our planning process and give you a kind of a snapshot of some upcoming events. First, on the Health Science Center, as you know, we did make a significant announcement in early August. And with that announcement, I think it's been very important to note that that's the stepping stone as part of that process. We were considering this as phase 2 of our overall strategic planning effort that, as you know, we've hired Pitts Consulting Services to help with that. We're now entering the important phase 3, which is where the strategic issues, the final measures will be determined, and what actions we need to close whatever gaps we have in terms of the strategies that we select to undertake. So this has been a step along the way. If we can go to the organization, a little bit difficult to see, but just to highlight a couple points, we did establish a Vice Chancellor role. This is different than the Vice Chancellor role that was previously established 8 or so years ago, in that it remains intact at UMHC in terms of the CEO role in running a hospital. The linkage to the provost on campus is something that's also incredibly important for the academic programs, but it does consolidate for the first time the deans of medicine, nursing, health professions, and the hospital, as well as practice physicians, under a single umbrella. The establishment of an advisory board is something that, again, is a first-time event. This advisory board, we have high expectations that it will provide the type of advice and counsel on very complex issues of regulatory policy, financial support. This will be an outside board, and certainly with ex officio members from within the university, but something that, again, is perhaps long overdue in establishing good governance in support of our hospital and its important role. I would refer back again to earlier this morning. I think we heard the terms collaboration and interdisciplinary approaches many times this morning, and I think that is a theme that certainly resonates with this chart and with the opportunities we have in our Health Science Center. Chancellor Deaton and I had a chance, as the announcement was made that week, to host 2 town hall meetings, very well attended. We had a chance to encourage communication across all of these functions that heretofore had perhaps been somewhat separate in terms of their mission, now joined together under a common mission of serving Missouri and serving certainly the University of Missouri campus in Columbia with our ability to bring these functions together. So something that I think has been well received. Dr. Hal Williamson has stepped into the interim vice chancellor's role, and he'll be fresh back from a couple of weeks of holiday on Monday morning, and I'm sure his inbox is full already of some opportunities that we'll have a chance to engage with him. So again, any questions, let me know, but I think this has been well received, and we're now entering this important phase 3 of this planning activity. I'd like to review with you where we are in the planning process. I had a chance last week to review this in some detail with Curator Wassinger, who chairs the committee of the curators that oversees planning and strategic planning initiatives for the board. We have spent a lot of time on this initiative to be sure that we collectively are up to speed on the plans of each of the campuses, as well as the functional plans within the system office related to functional areas of finance, information technology, human resources, and so forth. We have been emphasizing that the campus plans need to be unique and distinctive, and that's been consistent with the theme to be sure that we have campus plans that are autonomous in nature, yet at the same time look for these areas of collaboration across the system. We're trying to hone in on 6 to 8 key goals per campus, and the reason we say it that way is, as you can imagine, each campus and the system plan is very dynamic, but it's also, again, to describe what we do, very voluminous in terms of its impact on the campus in terms of the activities that we need to have. But we have found that we have so many constituents that need to have a snapshot about what the University of Missouri is about, that we want to be sure that we focus on those 6 to 8 key goals. Functional areas are going to be expected to provide supporting plans to the campus plans, and to be sure that at the same time that we look for specific overlays to those plans that highlight areas of collaboration and key initiatives. We will have measures that then tie back to those plans, so there's not a disconnect on the one hand of plans and actions and then what we're measuring and focusing on, to be sure that we have a greater level of accountability and transparency to our constituents. The plan framework on the next chart will describe University of Missouri in simple, concise format. Again, we think that's important for our various constituents to be able to have that type of framework in mind. We want to be sure that we emphasize, as we talked a little bit about yesterday, our vision, our mission as our state's land-grant institution, our goals, strategies, and measures, and we want to be sure that certainly in time for the election cycle being completed that you heard Steve Knorr talk about yesterday, but also by an upcoming Missouri 100 event, that we use that as the opportunity to showcase, if you will, this document that integrates the campus plans and integrates the measures and integrates what we'll be taking on from a collaboration standpoint. The process is, frankly, at this stage more about aggregating and integrating than it is finding those long-term 5 to 10-year plans, although I do think we have some leverage opportunities, leverage points that we are uncovering, as well as a couple of breakthrough initiatives that would fit that more classical definition of strategic planning. Let me give you a few key themes that certainly have emerged or that we are emphasizing as part of this process. First is to assume our role as our state's premier institution in higher education to take on this issue of communicating the value of higher education. If we don't do that, who's going to do it? I think has been the question that we have understood. And as you heard Jennifer talk yesterday, we have taken on this research initiative to be sure we find the right message that can resonate with the right constituent group. We do want to focus on this P through 20 or early childhood development, and to be sure that we are proactive in initiatives that try to get at how do we get children, get young adults ready for higher education, and to be sure that we're taking advantage of all the many programs that we have today to get that glide path in a good position for the future. We want to be sure, as you heard Steve talk about yesterday, that we take on policy positions, given our role as the state's premier institution, that can be pertinent to the issues of higher education. Again, if we don't do that, who's going to do that for us? And today we find ourselves sometimes responding to either candidates for elected office and responding to their positions without having necessarily staked out what we think is important. And we highlighted a few of those, including taking on, again, last year preparing to care, this year caring for Missourians as an important part of that framework for support. We should be a leader, as you would expect, and again, it wasn't set up that way, but I was very pleased to hear so many uses of the term collaboration and interdisciplinary approaches. That is something that we should be expected in the University of Missouri system to be leaders for, and again, the examples you heard this morning about cooperation and collaboration between campuses, we're uniquely positioned to provide leadership for that in the state where resources for new programs are going to be scarce, and our ability to collaborate and figure out ways of sharing between campuses and extending our programs and degrees in that regard is very important. There are, I think, some breakthrough areas, and we've highlighted 3 here. You're aware of the activity that Dr. Lamb has been leading this year on distance education. More to share with that along the way, but this is something I think is very exciting, and you think about the positioning of University of Missouri for the future. This is something that, again, campus activities are underway. This is attempting to take that to a different level with some investment that we would expect to make. Economic development, certainly Chairperson Walker's report at each of these meetings highlights what we're doing, but again, an opportunity in our state to be the economic engine for growth and jobs is something that continues to get a lot of attention. And finally, international initiatives, activities going on at each campus, and I think we're looking for leverage points. How do we find areas where the campuses working together can leverage international developments, international initiatives, and something that, again, we'll be taking on as a system team. And finally, to look for new ways to fund capital projects, not capital campaigns, but capital projects. If you were to roll up what we approved in our July budget submission and look at that over a 5 to 8 year window, we probably have $1 billion to $1.5 billion of projects already identified. What we're going to be doing in the next several months is finding ways of looking at those in a market basket approach of ways of coming at capital initiatives for that. So again, by the time we get to the late part of this year or early in the next year, I would expect for us to have identified funding sources and a funding strategy to go after capital in a different manner than perhaps we have in the past. Taking advantage of Health Science Center, you heard last night, you heard yesterday, you heard again this morning, the opportunities at UMKC, at UMSL, at Missouri S&T, and certainly at MU to take advantage of health science and the corridor that exists between Kansas City and St. Louis and sometimes extending beyond our state borders, again, to have a broader economic impact, and whether that's with Monsanto and the Danforth opportunities in St. Louis or with Midwest Research and Stowers a stone's throw from here. Those are opportunities that are unique to us. They are fleeting opportunities, though, and if we don't take advantage of those in our state, then others may. And finally, to ensure that the clarity of our vision and mission, as we talked about yesterday, and our role in the state is something that we continue to highlight to all of our constituents, but also do that as part of a very transparent process. I'd like to share with you, and I don't know if it's at your tables or not, a draft of performance measures. Last year, in the latter part of the year, the Curators adopted 9 measures that we continue to report out to you. And in fact, I think we have an update for you of those measures in front of you. But in addition to that, we have also come to understand what would be considered best or better practices around the country, which is a much more robust set of measures, a much more transparent way of accountability back to whether it's a General Assembly, whether it's to alumni groups, all of our partners that would expect us to be good stewards of resources. So I don't intend to go over all of these, but certainly as you would look through those, it is a very significant set of measures that would deal with 5 main categories of access to quality learning and teaching, academic research achievement and quality, community university engagement, our service mission, if you will, valuing people and creating a high-performing organization, and finally, developing and managing resources and improving processes, accountability and efficiency. So those measures that you see in the more detailed presentation will give you, again, a snapshot of what we have in mind, and we will come back to the board along the way to be sure that, that you're in concurrence with that level of detailed reporting. But again, as we've examined best practices or better practices around the country, we think this is something that would move us in that right direction. Okay. Finally, let me, without stealing any of the Chancellor's thunder, let me give you a highlight of some upcoming events. Next week is a very important week on the Columbia campus with the J School's 100th anniversary, and O'Brady will speak to that in just a minute as well. I will be chairing a panel where we are bringing in CEOs and chairmen of companies, whether it's CNBC, Russ Mitchell from CBS will be moderating the panel, and it will be taking on technology and media in the 21st century related to the theme of journalism, so something we're very excited about. The chancellors and I will be descending on Washington in mid-September. We'll be meeting with all of our congressional delegation as well as alumni in Washington. This is an annual opportunity for us to be sure that we get our messages across, our planning activities, and also perhaps find some opportunities to talk about some earmark opportunities or two we would like to see redirected back to our state. Missouri 100 event coming up in October. Last year, Dr. Lamb started this initiative, and I think we had a great first year. From that perspective, we continue to solicit key thought leaders around the state to participate in that, and October 10th, 11th, we'll have that second event. And we continue to have a timeline of support for our 2010 appropriations. You heard from Steve yesterday the myriad of activities that we need to be taking on now to prepare the newly elected members of the General Assembly to have an appreciation for the University of Missouri, and that's something that we will continue to focus on and pay attention to. Let me mention two other areas while I'm up here. First of all, you'll recall earlier this year, we took on a very significant marketing effort to be sure that our alert systems on our campuses were starting to become appreciated by faculty, staff, and students. We took that up a notch in the last couple of weeks as we put in place a system that allows students to go through and opt in or opt out as they move through the screens as they log on to the system. And we've had a very significant response to that. It is a forced selection that is made, opt in and opt out. But on all of our campuses, we would expect during the course of a month that each student would be logging in. And as of September 3rd, we are already up to over 65% across our 4 campuses that have opted into this new approach, which again gives us a much better ability to access our students, to contact them in the extent of an emergency situation on our campuses. So again, something that we appreciate the student leadership on this regard, as well as faculty and staff have been instrumental in putting the system in place. Finally, I would refer you to a document. In fact, Kathy Miller would be passing that out now. There's been a fair amount of public press related to an initiative that came out soliciting signatures for reducing the drinking age on campuses, or introducing legislation that would reduce the age for drinking from 21 to 18. The statement is a document that I reviewed last week. I want to be sure you're aware of the university's position, which is that we are not in support of any change of the law. We are in support of education and strong support of parenting in terms of how we interact with our students in this regard. So I wanted to be sure that you knew this was a position that we are taking as a university, and we would not be signing, certainly at my level or the chancellor's level, this initiative that has been getting some press. I wanted you to be sure you're aware of that position. So with that, we will now move through the campus reports. We will move around the table from Chancellor Carney to Chancellor Morton to Chancellor Deaton, and we'll finish up with Chancellor George. I think their presentation is loaded in that regard. Thank you.
Before Chancellor Carney begins, I'd just like to welcome student curator Tony Lukemeyer, who I understand joined us by phone. So just wanted to welcome you, Tony, to the meeting and to let everyone know that you've joined us.
Good morning, everyone. Mathematical equations play a big role in the educational enterprise at Rolla, and there's one up there. And what that means is, Frank, energy, the environment, and education equals civilization. And this is really resonating throughout our campus, and we're concentrating on these broad areas. Next. A couple of weeks ago, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony at our E-Cubed Commons area. For those of you familiar with the campus, this is across the highway in the western part of the campus where Gary's fraternity is located. I was in your fraternity and saw your picture prominently displayed. Yeah. We had a convoy of hydrogen-powered vehicles visit us for this ribbon cutting ceremony. That vehicle on the upper left is going to be part of a competition that I'll mention in a minute. There's the ribbon cutting ceremony next. As part of this commons area, we have the only hydrogen filling station in the state of Missouri, which is functioning. We have 2 hydrogen-powered buses that we plan to use to provide shuttle service between Rolla and Fort Leonard Wood.
Missouri's first hydrogen filling station.
Not quite. And our E-Cubed Commons is the site also for renewable energy, environment, and educational initiatives that are sponsored by us in collaboration with many government and industrial partners. Next. Here's a quick snapshot of some of the activities at this new facility. None of this existed 2 months ago. Next. The Hydrogen Road Tour was actually coordinated at Zeno's in the spring, and we convinced the Department of Transportation to, as part of publicizing the future of how we're going to power vehicles in this country 10 years from now. It started off in Portland, Maine, and made its way to Rolla on the way to the West Coast. And you notice there's quite a bit of space between Rolla and the East Coast and the West Coast. So we're really right at the forefront of this new activity. And I'd like to show you just a 2-minute clip of a news story that appeared in Channel 3 in Springfield. If we can get some sound.
Maybe not. We're not doing well on technology today.
Transportation.
Well, good morning.
Which would you rather have?
One of many stops along a coast-to-coast tour of hydrogen vehicles to demonstrate progress toward emission.
Missouri's first hydrogen fueling station will be showcased in Rolla today.
KY3's Kristen Nelson joins us live with what the Show Me State hopes to show the U.S. Department of Transportation. What is that?
Well, good morning, Paul. The hydrogen fueling station is located at Missouri University of Science and Technology, and today's ribbon-cutting ceremony will be one of many stops along a coast-to-coast tour of hydrogen vehicles to demonstrate progress toward emissions-free hydrogen cars in each state.
Welcome to Rolla and Missouri's first hydrogen station.
The Missouri S&T buses that shuttled post employees from Rolla to Fort Leonard Wood are no longer powered by diesel. Today, it's hydrogen that makes them go.
These storage tubes here are approximately 15 feet long. And
this is Missouri's first hydrogen fueling station.
That's the Hydrogen Creation Yard. There it is.
So ultimately what we have here...
Here, university students will generate this alternative energy and ideas that could eventually help drive the nation in a greener direction.
We are going to help the United States, particularly through the Department of Transportation, understand how to adopt hydrogen as a transportation fuel.
Instead of nearly $4 a gallon gasoline, researchers say hydrogen would only cost $3 a gallon, and you could go 4 times the distance.
Hydrogen as a fuel is part of the answer to the future.
Supporters say the benefits travel beyond cost to include a quieter ride and faster acceleration, not to mention cleaner air.
Our job is to see how this all fits together on the infrastructure of the transportation system in the United States.
And it's up to Missouri S&T to show the U.S. the road to hydrogen. And the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the hydrogen fueling station begins at 10:30 this morning. Now, we should note the event site is also the future home for Missouri S&T's Eco Car Challenge team. The university is one of 17 groups competing to design a more eco-friendly car.
Anyway, good publicity for us. This Eco Car Challenge is interesting. This is a 3-year project. We're one of 17 universities in the U.S. and Canada. It's sponsored by the Department of Energy and General Motors. So this is going to be a very important project for us. Next. Another new addition to our campus, and this is only a few months ago, we've got a wind turbine. You're not going to see 1,000 wind turbines in Rolla because we don't have the wind speed we need. But at least this one is turning. And it's a great teaching tool for our students. And this is the good office of Facilities Management, Design, and Construction of the Missouri Office of Administration. And interestingly enough, This is also on our west campus, but it's actually on the property of the State Highway Patrol, Troop I. Next. We've got a Missouri S&T sign on the end of the turbine. Unfortunately, it's 130 feet in the air, so it's not very visible. Although you can see the turbine from the highway. Next. We've got many green initiatives on campus, and we're really engaging with the student body. As you can imagine, they're very enthusiastic about these initiatives. Next. In addition, we've just created the Institute for Environmental Excellence. We've hired 2 staff members to direct and promote campus greening activities, and we're trying to advance sustainability practices and environmental considerations. And we're having a green campus kickout next week. We've got an important guest speaker who's the Assistant Director for Environment at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. We've got student-led competitions and a couple of rock concerts. The orchestras will not use electricity. We're going to use old-fashioned guitars and the rock. Just kidding. And to give you some specifics, we hope to reduce our electrical usage by 4% on campus this year. We hope to reduce our paper usage by 40%. You know, it's very easy to generate tons and tons of paper copies of things, and we all have to resist the urge to do that, especially us old people who are used to reading pieces of paper instead of looking at computer screens. And we hope to reduce our solid waste on campus by 10%. Next. Another initiative that's really been successful for us, this is a picture from last spring. We had 1,200 young kids on campus to celebrate Earth Day. And if we can get the young folks to visit our campus and go to our summer camps, we're going to garner a large percentage of them to come as students later on. Next. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I want to spend a few minutes talking to you about sustainability at UMKC. What I hope to demonstrate in in just a few slides is that we're not only focused on improving where we are, our current carbon footprint, but we're also designing sustainability into every new facility that we are planning to build here. And in addition to that, it's being worked into the curriculum. We're teaching it. All right. This first chart will show that, is there a control up here? Yes, oh, there it is. The first chart shows that this is not a new effort at UMKC. For almost 15 years, there's been recognition of UMKC for various efforts it's undertaken to help the environment. But most recently, and this is, I think, about a month ago, the Chamber of Commerce recognized UMKC as one of the founding climate protection partners. There's a real effort within Kansas City driven by the Chamber of Commerce to improve the environment. And we heard this morning at the Faculty Senate breakfast about some of the efforts that UMKC scientists are bringing to that effort. This next chart is really illustrating why this university got that recognition. As you can see from this chart, our energy cost was just under $5 million a year and growing. So working with a local group, engineering group, Kansas City has a number of engineering firms here, but Burns & McDonnell's worked with us, and through their efforts, we were able to significantly improve our energy usage. And as you can see here, the benefit to us is guaranteed to be at least $1.6 million a year. Some of the early evidence that we're looking at suggests that the improvement will even exceed that $1.6 million guarantee. The work was started about a year ago. It was completed just this past month, and already starting to show the evidence. Now, One of the things you might ask about that is on the next chart. This group from the facilities group would not let me make this presentation without showing you this chiller. A part of this effort was a 5,800-ton chiller that's located on the east side of the campus. All I can tell you about this, even as an engineer, is that is one mighty fine-looking chiller. Right? But it's located on the east side of the campus. It serves about 2/3 of the facilities on the campus, and was a major part of this work. So I hope they're happy, and so we. But as I mentioned, every facility that's going up, that's being planned for this campus, will consider how we improve the environment. It's focused on sustainability, and we talked, I think, a little bit yesterday about the Health Sciences building, the new Oak Street West development that will replace the Cherry Street dormitory. We also talked about the new student union and the expansion of the Miller-Nichols Library. All of those will be LEED certified, we expect. And if you ask what are some of the things that we will do to assure that, well, we'll continue to do the things we've already been doing that we talked about earlier. But in addition to that, using things like recycled material in the construction of this facility, especially on interior finishes like carpet and wood, and also recycling waste. That's waste that from construction that would be headed to a landfill. We think that will also be important. And something that may have some odor to it, and that is compounding most of our food waste. Composting, that is, most of our food waste. I'm not looking forward to that one, but that's an important effort as well. Right? Now, as I mentioned before, it's not enough to just put these efforts in place. It's important long-term for us to make sure that our young people are being educated in this subject. So what I've shown here also is the number of areas in which our students can get an education in sustainability, including, as it shows here, in political science and environmental justice, and teaching environmental ethics in the philosophy department, and environmental economics as well. So those are the efforts that we have in place, and we expect to continue to contribute to the quality of life in Kansas City. But I also wanted to make you aware of a couple of other things. We did pass out a little flyer here called In the Plus Column that points to a number of events that we'd like for you to be aware of around the campus. On the front is, this being a very heavy political time, is a picture of President Bush with one of our students receiving an award. And there are other items in there that we'd like for you to be aware of as well. One final thing that I'd like to bring to your attention, and that is the work that is being done by our advancement group. They, as you know, as you think about some of the work that we are endeavoring to pursue on this campus, there can be no question in your mind that we need a lot of private support. And we are working hard to get that. But in the process of convincing others that we need their help, it's also important to demonstrate that you are willing to help yourself. So one of the things that we have been able to demonstrate is that our people are willing to invest in UMKC. Alumni giving at this point is at a record level. It has now exceeded 10%. Which puts us in very good shape when you compare us to other institutions around the country. That was a major focus that Guy Bailey had, and that has really started to show great improvement. The other thing is that faculty giving is up 8%. So I just want to thank all of you all for your efforts to invest in this university. I think we'll be able to use that fact to demonstrate to our other private funders that we are worth investing in, because we are willing to invest in ourselves. So thank you very much.
Good morning. We got off to a great start this fall with over 5,000 students going through the columns to enter their freshman year in Tiger Walk. And that should be coming up, or one of the students that joined us this fall was Dana Edelman, a freshman from Clark County. And I'm highlighting one of the very significant new scholarship programs we've initiated called a Flagship Scholars Program. The goal of this program is to provide a 4-year full-ride scholarship to a student each year from every county in Missouri and the city of St. Louis. That's going to be a major part of our next campaign. We now, in addition to Clark County, thanks to the gift of Mark and Stephanie McAndrew, $1.4 million, a full endowment there for 4 scholarships. We have Audrain, Caldwell, and Marion County support as well, and we're headed toward continued growth in this program as we look to the future. Heading that program, and it is an important new initiative across the state to emphasize students from families who've never had a family member in college before. Jo Turner, who's known to this audience. Jo is here, I believe, and I wanted to introduce her. Many of you know her from her leadership in Extension as interim vice provost. And youth work across the state has a tremendous kind of grassroots identification across Missouri that's going to provide important leadership to this very important Flagship Scholars Program. Jo, thanks so much. We've heard about research already some this morning, but some of the highlights, certainly at Mizzou, we always look to the tremendous findings we're gaining in research, those that are of sort of earth-shattering importance particularly. Autism research in the Thompson Center is a very important interdisciplinary research effort on the campus, and recently, worldwide, the news of these new findings where MU researchers in engineering and medicine have found major breakthroughs in early detection of autism has just captured global attention. And this work will continue to draw on interdisciplinary strengths and enable early detection to provide tremendous support then in remedial work for children with autism. And we're very proud of the researchers who have made this contribution. Of course, autism is only one facet of a research program that last year generated $189 million from external sources, a new record for our university, by the way. Leading that effort is our new Vice Chancellor for Research, Robert Duncan. Robert is with us also, and I would ask him to stand. Robert's a native of St. Joseph, Missouri, got his undergraduate degree at MIT and his doctorate from UC Santa Barbara. He came to us where he went from Chief Operating Officer position for the New Mexico Consortium of Research Universities, and he's also founding director of the Institute for Advanced Studies at Los Alamos National Lab. We're really proud, Dr. Duncan, to have you with us and appreciate the tremendous work he's already initiated with economic development entities across the state of Missouri and certainly in Columbia. Robert, thanks for being with us. Welcome. President Forsey mentioned the Journalism School Centennial that we're celebrating, what we feel is the finest school of journalism in the world, and that's pretty much of a documented peer evaluation of our journalism school. We're going to have a number of significant events, and the introduction of the Donald W. Reynolds Journalism Institute, a major renovation and new addition to Walter Williams Hall and our old sociology building with a new addition in the middle, made possible by the largest gift we received in the, for all we call Mizzou campaign, $31 million from the Donald W. Reynolds Foundation. We added another $4+ million from our campus to enable this fabulous building to be created and made possible. You're going to see this, I hope, next week, and when you visit campus, don't miss an opportunity to tour just what's absolutely a fabulous facility. Let me, for the next few moments, emphasize a theme that several others have talked about, and that is the going green, efforts to improve sustainability, energy conservation across our campus. Mizzou has been a leader in this effort in many ways. We are now replacing about 5% of our coal supply with wood chips starting last October, and we're looking to use alternative fuels in so many ways: switchgrass, corn cobs, tires. You mentioned the waste product, and we're going to find a way to burn it efficiently and reduce carbon emissions at the same time. Last year, we saved over 7,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions. It's a really significant accomplishment, and the power plant and the faculty and staff working there have just done a phenomenal job. In addition, we have collaboration here in Kansas City with Missouri S&T and Lincoln University and other institutions across the state, and the work that Peter Pfeiffer, who's now the chair of our physics department, has undertaken to use hydrogen as a fuel source, storing it in corn cobs made into little briquettes. Curator Erdman and I had the good fortune at the initiation of this project. I emphasize it here because they've just received an additional $1.9 million in funding to work with the Midwest Research Institute and these other entities here in Kansas City on what's truly a wonderful piece of research that's making global news as well. In the area of nanotechnology and nanoscience, we have also the first green nanoscience scientific journal in the world will be edited by one of our top scientists, Dr. Katesh Kadi, in our School of Medicine and Radiology. He's taken over the executive editorship role and will focus on major breakthroughs in medicine, material science, environmental science, and alternative energy production. You'll see new findings, new technology coming forward every day that has tremendous worldwide attention addressing it. Recycling is something very important for us. We recycle about 25% of our waste. It was over 1,800 tons last year, and will be probably greater than that in the future. We recycle everything we can, from when students move out and they provide us with their things they were going to throw in the landfill. We sell it and find users for it and donate the funds to United Way agencies. Leading that effort in so many ways on our campus are our students who've done, with their Sustain Mizzou program, have done wonderful work with tailgate recycling at our football games, with cleaning up the Hinkson Creek, emphasizing local food production in so many ways. It's our students who've reinfused a sense of immediacy and urgency in addressing that part of that formula that was illustrated a few moments ago. I liked very much, E3 equals C. Jack, you did a great job with that. I'm going to borrow it every chance I get, if that's all right, but I'll attribute it to you. We also have a chemical redistribution from our labs on the campus. We use any excess chemicals are recycled and used by other faculty in their research on our campus. Every way possible to reduce fuel use, to reduce waste in every way, and to recycle and contribute to the environment. For the first time in its history, in fact, to further illustrate this point, our printing services will be using recycled paper for all copying and digital printing, and that's 22 million sheets of bond paper per year. It's very, very significant. We also, with our campus dining services, draw on the local market for foods, strengthening the local economy and providing a very healthful and sustainable kind of food source for our students and faculty across the campus. It's very important for us. It's very significant. More than 200 pounds of rice from Martin Rice down in southern Missouri, Curator Haggard, 1,200 pounds of pork and beef from our meat labs, 3,500 pounds of tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers from our Bradford farm. So all these are very important emphases. You heard about hydrogen cars. Our hydrogen car team with a hydrogen fuel cell called Tigergen with our College of Engineering continues to be built and compete in national competition. Working with Missouri S&T on architectural studies particularly, we have integrated now sustainability into our architecture curriculum in our College of Human and Environmental Sciences. And students and faculty are now working with Missouri S&T faculty and staff and students to build a completely solar-powered house. That's a project we're very excited about. The point here, as Chancellor Watkins emphasized, is integrating the teaching, the education of sustainability and greening across our curriculum. And we have more than 100 faculty in 40 different departments across the campus working in this, and we have a campus-wide environmental studies program as well that simply prods the faculty, student, and staff at every front to find ways to be a more sustainable campus. We want to be a green campus in every respect and involve our student body, particularly through internships. Our student organizations, we have over 500 on the campus. Many of them have very important environmental thrusts in their activities on the campus. Our engineering program now offers a pollution prevention internship program that trains students to provide on-site environmental assessments to Missouri businesses and industry and integrates with the private sector and provides a very important service to them in the economic development of the state as well. We're going to be initiating a new website, in fact, called Black, Gold, and Green, just to emphasize the kind of information that we realize we're doing so much with but not getting the word out on. And so we're going to try to coordinate this so that we can be more focused in our communications in this area and also, of course, always stimulate more activity that's important for us. Well, as I said, it's been a great fall. We have a great number of students, and we have a great football team getting started, and everyone's a Tiger right now, and I thought you would enjoy a poster of the sequel for this year to that great season we had last year. And I think we're going to provide a copy of that to each of you. And we're going to close with our football spot that just emphasizes the Tiger spirit. And I thought this 30 seconds would be worth you watching, and it's the close of my presentation. Thank you.
I'm a Mizzou Tiger at the school with the #1 academic progress rate in the public BCS. I'm a Tiger, celebrating the 100th anniversary of...
I'm a Tiger, on the prowl for a cure for heart disease. We're Tigers! With the largest freshman class in our history!
At the University of Missouri, everyone's a Tiger. There's only one Mizzou. I'm a Tiger, celebrating the 100th.
Got the thing working.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to sort of be cleanup with the campus in St. Louis, and I'm going to give a few highlights of what's going on in St. Louis, and of course end by what we're also doing in the effort to be a greener campus. And this has been great, all the reports that we've gotten so far from the other campuses. Let me start with mentioning our new Vice Chancellor for Advancement. This is Martin Liefeld. He was the #2 person in that position at St. Louis University. He's hit the ground running in a tremendous fashion. We're really fortunate to have him on the campus, and I really expect great things from him, particularly in the fundraising arena, which is a major component of that. And that's the next slide, Frank. Also, I was happy that Cheryl Walker, our curator, was chair of the board of curators, was able to mention IT Enterprises. She called it an incubator, and that's what it is, although Curator Erdman told us when we established it, don't call it an incubator, call it something else. And so we're calling it Enterprises. And we do have a new tenant. The new tenant is called the Binary Dock, and we're in the process of negotiating now with a number of other tenants. The guts of this IT Enterprises is IT. But we have about 20,000 square feet of lab space, if you will, and so that's something that's sorely missing in St. Louis. I mean, one of the reasons we can't acquire or attract more biotech-type companies to St. Louis is because we simply don't have the lab space. So this facility helps provide that. So we're also negotiating 1 or 2 companies that can go in and use that lab space. Let me just talk briefly about some summer achievements that we've had. This past summer, we attracted over 1,000 high school students to the campus for a variety. Go to the next one, please, Frank. To the campus for a variety of programs, and I'll mention one. This is called STARS. We simply call it STARS on campus. It actually means students and teachers as research scientists. And for those of you close enough to the screen, you can see President. I gave you a promotion, but President Gary Forsey, and he was our keynote speaker at the annual commencement ceremony for the STARS program, and did a great job at that. We also have the Bridge Summer Program, College Summit, Gear Up, which is a program in collaboration with 8 school districts, St. Louis Community College, Harris Stowe, jazz combo camps, and on and on. I mean, the list goes on of all the things that go on campus to bring the students to the campus. We have some projects, sort of a catchy phrase called Pupil Project. And what this does, and we gave the phrase here, opens some eyes, but this is optometry and education faculty are melding vision therapy and tutoring to help visually and academically struggling children improve in school. And also, if you notice in a handout that Jennifer gave you yesterday, there was a highlight of our research in the Galapagos Islands, which is just off of the coast of Chile. And Patty Parker, one of our biology professors, has led a team of students, over 20 students, to there. And what they've discovered recently is they've been able to identify a parasite that's attacking penguins, and they're helping to cure that ahead of time before it does too much damage to the penguins. And these findings were recently highlighted in the New York Times. Let me also just mention some other faculty accomplishments. In our Department of Criminology or Criminal Justice, which just got ranked 4th in the country again by U.S. News and World Report. This has one of the accomplishments is a book by Alan Wagner, a faculty member there, and what he's looking at is how police forces developed over time. And I guess evidently back in the early 1800s, we had 4-people police forces. I say 4-man police forces, and now it's evolved into a very sophisticated police department in various cities. And this was published by the History Museum, and then Missouri History Museum, and then also in our political science department, Professor Middleton has a book on looking at the efforts of various cities to improve race relations, and one of these cities was Columbia, Missouri. 2 other faculty achievements. Mark Pope, who's an education professor, received what's called the Eminent Career Award, and that's from the National Career Development Association. And my understanding is this is the highest honor that this association could give a faculty member. And also Jim Henry, an associate professor in music, was elected to the Barbershop Harmony Society Hall of Fame, and he's a member of what's called the Gas House Gang, and also he's a director of our choral groups at the University of Missouri St. Louis. Let me go on to the second part of my presentation, and that's what we're doing on our campus to be green. And I'm going to be echoing a lot of my colleague chancellors. Let me start by saying that in terms of LEED certification, and Chancellor Morton mentioned this, absolutely. Everything that we're doing going forward is going to have an eye toward LEED certification. The Express Scripts buildings, both of them, you see them on the north end of our campus, are LEED certified. And we had a reception for the Board of Curators, I think last time you were on our campus in the Express Scripts building. We're partnering with St. Louis Community College to build their 4th campus, and it's just about built out in Wildwood. There's a population, if you will, flow into the west direction, the West County. That's LEED certified. And it's fun to go up on the roof of that building and see all the plants that are up there and doing the things you have to do to be LEED certified. And then we're implementing LEED standards in all of our renovations and construction. We have $28.5 million designated from the Lewis and Clark Discovery Initiative for renovation and a new building in the Science Complex. And we're working with HOK, the architectural firm in St. Louis, for LEED certification. And then also we're looking to build a new facility for our campus NPR radio station, KWMU, somewhere, maybe on our campus, maybe somewhere else in the city, but we're looking for that to be LEED certified. And we're looking for creating more sustainable landscapes, using plants, for example, that require less water. LEED, I just wrote it up here because we use the term all the time. It means leadership in energy and environmental design. Talking about conservation and ecology, we've installed time-controlled thermostats, and this last year we recycled 100 tons of materials, and we've had a very active recycling program since 1991. So, as Chancellor Morton mentioned, I know there's a lot of buzz right now about going green, but a lot of our campuses have been really doing this. It's a way of our nature and our culture. We've got newly created online courses in keeping with Vice President Lamb's effort in terms of looking at distance education and online courses, and we're aggressively looking at adding more of those and trying to reduce energy usage, whether it's people driving or whether it's creating more paper. And we've replaced a number of our traditional pickup trucks on campus by smaller electric vehicles. And it's fun to see these little cars moving around campus. And they're what's called E85 compliant, and that means that they're using 85% ethanol and 15% gasoline. This is my last slide. We spend about $100,000 a year on our campus to underwrite students riding the Metro. Metro's losing money. All Metros lose money. And, I know as Kansas City's starting to explore adding a Metro, you have to recognize it's got to be subsidized. And New York subsidizes it, Boston subsidizes it. And so we negotiate with Metro, and they negotiate very tough. And so we're spending $100,000 of our campus money that students are putting in money as well from their fees so that they can ride for free. And there's a lot of students that do this, and that, of course, is saving on gas and other kinds of energies. We are in the process of building a lot of bike trails in the region, that region of St. Louis, connecting kind of the university is sort of a hub for that, and it's going all the way to Illinois and to Forest Park and other areas, and we're encouraging people, especially when the weather is okay, to ride bikes more, and a lot more people are doing that. And finally, we have a committee on sustainability, and I know several of the other chancellors mentioned these kinds of committees. We've had this now for about 4 years, and I think what's important about this committee is it happened because the honors students came to me my first year. We have clusters in the honors program, about 6 or 7, and one of them is an environmental cluster. And that means they take a collection of courses which are dedicated to studying the environment and how we become more efficient with our use of energy. And they said, we need a task force that's going to look at how we can do a better job on campus and recycling, becoming more energy efficient. So we've created a task force, very aggressive. It's got students, it's got faculty. We have people from local environmental engineering firms on this task force. And as a result of this, we have done a lot of things on the campus to become more energy efficient. So I really thank the students for doing that. And not just in the honors program, but throughout the curriculum, we have a number of activities and a number of opportunities for students in terms of the environment and in terms of better energy usage on the campus. So thanks for this opportunity.
I'd like to thank the chancellors for the reports, particularly the emphasis on going green. I think Curator Carnahan suggested that at the June meeting that we spend a little bit of time on that topic, and I think you can see that there are a lot of initiatives underway, but certainly it's been part of the culture of our campuses to emphasize this. So, Curator Carnahan, thank you for bringing up the topic, and certainly we'll continue to provide that emphasis as we go forward.
Thank you. I turn it back over to Chancellor Martin to share with us his report on economic development in Kansas City.
Well, thank you. We titled this Economic Development in an Urban Setting. I had the privilege of serving as the chair of the Economic Development Corporation for Kansas City many years ago, and Curator Erdman has also served in that capacity here. Well, the next slide will show you a definition for economic development that I became familiar with, because when you serve in a capacity like that, you like to understand purpose. And the definition helped me to understand it. As you can see, there are certain elements of that definition that were important. It says that when you're supporting economic development, you are working to improve the economic well-being of the area and the quality of life. It also talks about creating and retaining jobs as well. So I thought it would be interesting to look at how the university, in particular UMKC, supports those elements of economic development. So in the first case, when it comes to jobs and workforce development, this university serves in the same capacity as do the other universities, as we all do, and that is we employ a lot of people, and in this case, this even counts the number of students we employ, because all of these folks, and as it indicates here, we have a payroll of $151 million a year, and that was in 2007. And most of those people work here, of course, but live in the Kansas City area and spend lots of dollars here, and that certainly helps to stimulate the economy. And of course, we generate about $1.4 million in earnings taxes. But the construction alone here has produced over $300 million of construction on this campus, and of course that creates jobs as well. But an important factor is this. Our studies show that 5 years after graduation, 75% of our graduates are still in Kansas City. In fact, that very fact alone is important to the businesses here, because that is really the way we contribute most to the economic well-being of the corporations that use Kansas City as a home. In fact, I believe that I heard recently at a leadership summit that of the 96,000 graduates of UMKC, 58,000 of them are in Kansas City today. Now, the other way that in Kansas City, of course, we have to work hard to improve the quality of the workforce. But as an urban serving university, as I mentioned yesterday, It is not sufficient for us to wait to see what quality of students come out of the pipeline to study at this university. We have to reach into that pipeline and do everything that we can to help enhance the performance and achievement of the students there. So what we've listed here just happens to be several programs that we're engaged in to help improve the outcomes in the local school systems, including supporting 7 charter schools. I think there'll soon be 8. But the next slide also emphasizes another role that we play here. When it comes to improving the quality of life in Kansas City, we spent a little time at Hospital Hill yesterday. This is a fact that was mentioned by Dr. Dries, but I don't know that it really struck home. But with the partnerships that we have with both Truman Medical Center and Children's Mercy, at Hospital Hill, our efforts provide about $150 million of uncompensated care for the underserved. That's an outstanding figure. And it also illustrates that our core mission here is providing the doctors, the nurses, the pharmacists, and the dentists that serve in this region and in this state. And it says here that 89% of our 2007 pharmacy graduates are still in Kansas City or Missouri. And it goes on to identify that 63% of the nursing school graduates, and I think that's across its history, are still in Kansas City and Missouri. The same is true, 46% for the School of Medicine and 37% for the School of Dentistry. Now, the work that they do in contributing to the quality of life at Hospital Hill really focuses on many of the issues facing the urban core. Of course, we are world-renowned, I think, in some of the work that's going on in bone biology, focusing on mineralized tissues. But there's great work going on with regards to the issues regarding women, children and aging, inflammation, and cardiovascular disease. And I'll say a little bit more about that as we get to some of the technology transfer issues. But here's something that I found fascinating, and that is another important part of the quality of life in Kansas City is our contribution to the arts. What this chart shows is that there are 14 different venues within Kansas City that were founded by either faculty or graduates of the conservatory. And that includes the Kansas City Philharmonic, the Kansas City Ballet, the Lyric Opera. It goes on and on. I think that is another outstanding indicator of the value that this university plays in the economic development of the city. I spent some time in the Boston area. That area is absolutely rich with this type of venue. And it's one of the places I'll tell you, I will not leave Kansas City. You're going to have to run me away from here. But that is one of the places I would go back to because of the venues there. All right. Now, on the subject of job creation, I was a little worried about this when Curator Walker started talking about some of our technology transfer, because I said, I don't know that many of them, and I certainly can't handle it as well as Curator Walker did. But I want to tell you about some of the technology transfer, the patents that we have here that, and hopefully with additional help that we expect to get from Mike Nichols, we'll make more and more of this happen. But I'm going to talk about 4 of these, and these are technology transfer items that we believe are headed toward licensing. I believe 1 is licensed, but the other 3 are headed toward licensing. First, Dr. Gutiel. He's in the Division of Pharmaceutical Sciences, and I will describe, his work has been described to me as drugs for bugs. That is, he focuses on infectious disease, and it turns out that, you know, when it comes to most of the infections that we get as humans, those infections have the ability to develop immunities to the antibiotics that we use to treat them. Now, most of the techniques that are employed today to attack those bugs involve finding ways to penetrate the cell structure or attacking the way that the bugs sort of regenerate themselves, or attacking the way that the bug will attach itself to a human cell. Well, his work, Dr. Gutschill's work, focuses on finding additional vulnerabilities of those bugs and finding ways to attack them that are not toxic to the human being. This work has been, he has several patents in this area, and we are looking forward to licensing more of his work as well. The next one, Dr. Mitra, was also mentioned by Curator Walker. This one, I almost applauded when I heard what it's really about. It focuses on macular degeneration, and most of the cures or the treatments are like cancer-type drugs. So if you take them orally, there's lots of side effects. So most of the treatments today have to be given by injection into the eye. Well, his delivery system allows you to deliver the care with an eye drop. So injection in the eye or eye drop. I think there's value there. I think we can, that has real value in the marketplace, right? Now, if we move to the next one, I know you've heard a lot about Dr. Bonewald and her research. Well, I don't know if you know this, but you'll hear us talk a lot about Kansas City and what's here in Kansas City. Well, one of the other things that came out when Kansas City Area Life Sciences Institute started this work is that we are in an animal health corridor, having about 1/3 of the world's companies that focus on animal health residing here in the Kansas and Missouri area, right around Kansas City. Well, Dr. Bonewald's work this particular one has been characterized as bone cement. That is, when you have animals who are, in particular, large animals like horses and some breeder stocks that carry a lot of weight, when they have bone fractures, this cement allows you to make the application. The body will accept it, and it allows that animal to remain healthy. So that of course especially has application, especially in our area. And Dr. Gorski focuses on osteoporosis. It turns out that when you look at some of the treatments for osteoporosis, the tests that are available to determine whether or not the cure is working takes about 1 to 2 years to observe improvement. It turns out that Dr. Gorski has identified a marker that can be in the body that allows you to determine whether the cure is working much earlier than is currently available. So all of those seem to me to have great marketability, and I know that with the help we're going to get from Mike, we'll be able to get some benefit from that long term. So here's another part in the area of job creation that gets me excited. Think about the impact that entrepreneurs have had on Kansas City. Block, Stowers, Hall. That list is a very long list. You think about the jobs that have been created, and not just the jobs that were created, the reputation for this city, and the philanthropy coming from them after having started and built their businesses here. Well, the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation promises, once it is up and running, that it will deliver 100 new, well-trained entrepreneurs per year. Now, I talked about 75% of the graduates staying in Kansas City after graduation. What if we could keep 50% of these folks here? And what if only a fraction of those people were really successful? Well, Dr. Michael Song's research shows that an entrepreneur in his or her life creates 500 or more new jobs in their lifetime. Now, you think about the impact that those folks graduating from this university will have. The Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation is going to be, without question, a world-class school for developing entrepreneurs, and we're working hard to make sure that is fully funded. Now, on to job retention. Curator Erdman can tell you that in economic development, while we've focused a great deal on job creation, there's a lot of focus on job retention. And I'll just mention that we have in the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation has an innovation center located at 4747 Troost, and one of the premier programs in that center is called KC SourceLink. KC SourceLink was founded by this university, supported by the Kauffman Foundation as well. But what it aspires to be is that one call that you can make as a small business to get the help you need. Turns out there's about 140 different organizations in Kansas City that provide support for small businesses. But the problem is, how do you know which one to go to if you're a business person? Well, make that one call, and they'll make the connection. And they have some proprietary software that goes that is a part of their work. I think there will be an announcement sometime this month, I think September 12th, that there will be a Missouri SourceLink. It turns out that using their proprietary software, they have licensed this program in many other cities around the country. This year, their licensing fees alone will exceed over $1 million. So that's another area. And the statistics here show the number of clients served. I was particularly impressed with the last one that shows that the companies that they have helped have realized additional new revenues of over $91 million. It turns out I had to ask, well, now, can you describe some of, where was a lot of that? Well, it turns out that about 71 million of that comes from new government contracts that they were significantly instrumental in helping companies to achieve. So that is one element of job retention. But just to shorten this up a bit, we have the School of Law that provides pro bono services to businesses, which is also an important part of business retention. And the faculty and students here on this campus provide over 10,000 hours of volunteer services to this community. So the bottom line to me is that in examining our performance relative to the classic definition of economic development, I think we are covering the waterfront and adding value to this community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now move on to the consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion to approve it.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. There's no discussion. I call for the vote. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. As we move into our committee reports, I might add, just for purposes of those of you who are joined to watch the meeting, if our committee reports seem unusually short, that is because most of the committee work, or all of the committee work, took place yesterday in detail, and fortunately the entire board was able to join us. So I don't want you to think that we take our committee task lightly, but rather we worked very hard yesterday. So with that, I would turn it over to Curator Haggard for the Academic and Student Affairs report.
Thank you. The Academic and Student Affairs Committee had 4 information items on the agenda, and we began with a financial aid report jointly presented with the Finance and Audit Committee. Next, we had the opportunity to learn more about the consumer information and curriculum alignment initiatives as part of the requirements of Senate Bill 389. There was also a presentation about the statewide coordinated plan that was developed by the Missouri Department of Higher Education in cooperation with the state's 2- and 4-year universities. We concluded our discussion with an enrollment update presented by each of the chancellors. There were 2 action items approved by the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and presented on today's consent agenda. The 2 items were a newly proposed Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing and Media Arts at UMKC, and a revised mission statement for the University of Missouri St. Louis. And that concludes the summary of our report for the committee.
Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate all of the hard work that our committee chairs do, but this year Curator Erdman has had a particularly robust agenda as we move towards performance measures for our senior officers and for our president and others. And I certainly want to thank him personally, publicly, for all the hard work in leading that charge. And with that, I turn it over to you to make your committee's report.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman, and I'll try to have a less robust report here this morning. The committee did meet both in open public session and in closed session yesterday, and as was just accomplished through the consent agenda, the committee recommended to the full board adoption of a modification to the university hospital's on-call pay policy, which will bring it more into alignment with the market practices today. And most curators were here for that discussion, and we have just taken that action. Also, the committee took up the first performance reviews of those direct reports who are now in line for performance review, and that action was taken under the closed session. I might just like to say as a general report that the President's commitment to peer institution competitive compensation is alive and well, and I think I speak for the whole board in a vote of confidence to the President for implementing this vitally important priority of the curators. We set out a year ago to rectify the sometimes embarrassing reality that we are not competitive with our peer institutions, and starting with Gordon Lamb and now very skillfully adopted by the President, we are implementing a program that will over time make our ranked faculty and our administrators competitive with their peer institutions. This is vitally important. We cannot afford to have our best people cherry-picked away from us, and this university has made a strong commitment, and the President is implementing that program and reported to us on that yesterday. As part of that important objective, we are also now implementing a new performance management component to compensation. That will be something that will be implemented over time as well. I'm very encouraged by President Forsey and his staff's efforts to tie that to the master planning process. Today, the President shared with us his draft for the planning document that will be unveiled in October, and I'm extremely impressed and encouraged by that. That will subsequently be translated into specific performance objectives for the administrative staff, which will lead to the implementation of the performance component of our master compensation plan, and that plan is designed to get us to the competitive level of our peer institutions, which we've all agreed is long overdue. So a lot of heavy lifting is being done. I really want to commend the President and his staff for this extraordinarily detailed work. They are doing this in the most detailed way imaginable. The analysis that they give to competitive compensation and peer institution competitive rates is deep and thorough, will help this board immeasurably in the future in making sure that we remain competitive in this vitally important area. So with that, I conclude the report of the committee and to commend again the President and his staff for a job well done.
With that, I turn over to Curator Cairns, External Affairs.
Okay, thank you, Curator Walker. We too had a lengthy meeting yesterday, and I'm not going to report on all of our activities, but that is available to those of you who want to know more. As we've talked about before, the university is about to launch a public perception survey of higher education in Missouri, and more specifically the University of Missouri. And we have engaged Flashman Hillard in St. Louis to do that survey. The I want to say also, you're used to getting the Spectrum by mail. That's going to be going online. There's going to be 2 more prints, and then we're going, and talking about going green, we are going to be saving 4 tons of paper by going green and going online. And so that ties into what we've been talking about this morning. Also, the communications department is working with all the campuses in, you know, in seeing what we can do collaborative and in exchanging information. As I say, there's a more lengthy report, but I will not go into that detail. We met yesterday, and so anyway, if you're interested in further information, contact Kathy Miller, and she can provide a copy of that. We also heard a report from our Jeff City and Washington person, Steve Knorr, Vice President of Governmental Affairs, and he told us what they're doing to gear up for the upcoming session. And that, too, is, if you'd like to know more, talk to Steve. He can provide the information, but they're very busy. And President Forsey is engaged in this effort with Steve in meeting with legislative leaders and telling our story and what we need. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Now, Curator Walsworth so graciously volunteered to step in the shoes of Curator Russell in his absence. So I'll turn it over to him for the Finance and Audit report, and then followed by the Physical Facilities and Management Services report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance and Audit report was presented by the CFO of the system, and we were brought up to date on the financial aid to students. We had a very comprehensive report by our CFO. We had three action items, all of which was just approved by the consent agenda. Those 3 items were the schematic design for the new student center and build out of the pharmacy nursing building at UMKC, and the naming rights for the Stanley Durwood Soccer and Intramural Stadium. Intramural Stadium. Thank you. And with that said, that concludes the report for this committee.
Okay. Well, thank you. With that, I'm going to move to the general business and open it up to the good and the welfare of the board section. And there's one action item that you'll notice under that. And then, of course, if any other board member has something that they'd like to share at that point, I welcome that opportunity. But in the video clip that Chancellor Deaton shared, you saw sort of a preview of the context for this resolution today, and that is the academic progress rate that the MU campus received. And I guess it was about in 2004 that the NCAA came up with this as a measure to improve the academic progress of our athletes across in NCAA sports. And so I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Miller at this point to read into the record the text of the resolution. But I'd like to also add that in addition to the wonderful work that the students have done and the athletic department and Columbia have done, it certainly could not have been achieved without the wonderful hard work of the professors that teach those students. And so I'd really like to make sure the record reflects that we're honoring them too for helping our students to achieve such high honors and to helping Mizzou to achieve such high honors.
Whereas, as part of the National Collegiate Athletics Association, NCAA, academic reform program,
College presidents mandated the development of a system of capital accountability and academic reform, which takes into account the various missions of the NCAA colleges and universities. And whereas in 2004, the NCAA developed the Academic Progress Rate, APR tool, to assess every Division I sports team as part of the NCAA academic reform program. And whereas the APR is, according to the NCAA, a meaningful measure of academic performance that provides a real-time snapshot of a team's academic success each semester by looking at current academic progress of every student athlete. And the APR includes eligibility, retention, and graduation as factors in the rate of calculation and provides a much clearer picture of the current academic culture in each sport. And whereas the APR is, in the NCAA's words, the fulcrum upon which the entire academic reform structure rests. And whereas the NCAA honors through public recognition awards those institutions with teams with APR scores in the top 10% of the nation and publishes the APR scores of all 6,272 Division I sports teams of the member institutions. And whereas MU teams receive public recognition awards for men's golf, women's basketball, women's cross country, women's golf, women's swimming and diving, women's indoor track, and women's outdoor track. And whereas receiving public recognition awards for 7 of its 20 teams places MU first among the NCAA's Public Bowl Championship Series conference teams, commonly referred to as the BCS, and second among all public institutions receiving public recognition awards. And whereas MU led the Big 12 Conference both in the receipt of public recognition awards, 9 of its 20 teams had the highest APR score in the conference, and an additional 5 teams came in second for a total of 14 of its teams in the Big 12 Conference's top 2 overall. Whereas each of the University of Missouri-Columbia's 20 teams laudably met or exceeded the APR requirements set by the NCAA, and whereas Director of Intercollegiate Athletics Mike Alden and the Athletic Department have identified the academic success and advancement of our student athletes as one of the core values of the department, and whereas this achievement and public recognition by the NCAA is entitled to be heralded as a successful melding of all the values of a public education providing students with the opportunity to excel in both the classroom and the variety of sports venues available to MU students. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Curators, on behalf of the students, faculty, staff, and alumni of the University of Missouri, and on behalf of the citizens of the state of Missouri, does hereby adopt this resolution in acknowledgement of the significant academic accomplishments of its student athletes. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Board of Curators cause this resolution to be spread upon the minutes of this meeting, and its duly inscribed copy thereof be furnished to Chancellor Brady Deaton and the Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, Mike Alden.
Before its formal adoption, I would like to, I did not know, so I apologize for not doing this earlier, but I hear that Athletic Director Mike Alden has joined us. Oh, there he is. And so I'd like to ask him to stand, and we give him a round of applause for all of the hard work that you've done with the sports on the MU campus. We thank you for it. Mike, do you have any words for us? You, Mike.
On behalf of Brian Nyberg, is our associate athletic director. As I'm pulling him up here, and oversees all of our student services in the athletic program at Mizzou. And certainly, clearly, we're very proud of the fact that of all of the publics in the country at our level, that our kids perform academically higher than anyone else in the country. That's a great thing. But certainly for us, this is a tremendous honor for our Board of Curators here at the University of Missouri, and our president and our chancellor, my boss sitting right over there, to be able to recognize our men and women this way, and also our great faculty and staff at Mizzou. On behalf of all of that, we really thank you. This is a big honor for us, so thank you very much for the honor.
So, do I have a recommendation for this motion?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved in second. Anticipating no discussion or controversy. Call for the vote.
Yes.
Curator Carnahan?
Yes.
Curator Erdman?
Yes.
Curator Frazier?
Yes.
Curator Haggard?
Yes.
Curator Russell is absent. Curator Walker?
Yes.
Curator Walsworth?
Yes.
Curator Wassinger?
Yes.
Vote of 8 and 0.
Okay, if there's not any further business to come before the board today, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So anxious there.
Still in the room?
Second.
Still in the room? Gone.
Second.
Yes.
Second. Okay, call for the vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Used before, I think.
Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah.